Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 18th, and the time is 6:30 p.m., and I'd like to call this meeting to order. First on our agenda is the consent agenda. First is the minutes from January 21st, 2025, which seems like a lifetime ago. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Hearing none, I'll take the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. Are we approving or accepting? What's the,
We approve.
okay. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have warrants 46, 47, 49, 50, 52, 53, 55, and 56, which have gone around for signatures. Any questions or comments on any of those? Hearing none, I'll take the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept warrants number 46, 47, 49, 50, 52, 53, 55, and 56.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is visitors' comments. Any citizen wishing to speak before the committee must sign in with the administrative assistant prior to the opening of the regular session of the school committee. The visitor will identify themselves by name and address and shall speak for no longer than 3 minutes. For anyone unable to sign in ahead of time, we ask that you clearly state your name and address so that this information can be included in the record for the meeting. Seeing none, we'll move along. Cole is unable to attend? Okay. New business. First up is our Harold Grinspoon Excellence in Teaching Award for Kelly Romano.
I just wanted to let everybody know that Kelly Romano has been selected as the Granby Public Schools 2025 Pioneer Valley Excellence in Teaching Award. Kelly is, I'm going to read to you what one of her colleagues said to her. She had several nominations, but I kind of compiled them, and this is what we get. The compilation. Kelly Romano, a dedicated educator at Granby Junior Senior High since 2018, has been honored with the prestigious Grinspoon Excellent Award. Oh, sorry, that's my part. Teaching 10th and 11th graders across a range of subjects, including history, English, and advanced placement courses, Kelly's impact extends far beyond the curriculum. As the advisor for the high school student council, she fosters leadership and community spirit among the students. Kelly is widely celebrated for going above and beyond for both staff and students, building strong connections and consistently modeling inclusive teaching practices that create a welcoming and supportive learning environment for all. Kelly will be honored at an in-person banquet at the Log Cabin on April 30th, 2025. In addition to being honored, Kelly will be receiving an engraved plaque and a check for $250, generous tuition incentive and scholarship offered by 8 major colleges and universities, AIC, Bay Path, Elms, Mount Holyoke, Springfield College, West New England, and Westfield State, as well as University of Massachusetts. And additionally, winners will receive a 3-month membership at the Jewish Community Center or one of the 6 regional YMCAs. So, thank you, and you did a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Kelly's joined today with us. Her husband joined her husband, Michael, right?
Yes.
There we go.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful.
And if anybody's interested in going to the banquet, let me know, and we can certainly.
Enjoy the evening. It's a lot of fun up at the Log Cabin.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
for coming.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Well, that's nice to start our.
If you wanted a photo op, but
Oh, well, it's too late now. We'll have to be better about that. I
Yep.
didn't even think of it.
yeah, yeah.
And she is fantastic.
It was a good choice. She had several.
I know the kids just adore her. All right, so next up is review of out-of-state field trip advisory.
Okay, there's been, we had a couple of out-of-state field trips on the agenda for the last couple of meetings, but since that time, there's been some advisories from the health department about out-of-state field trips. So I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis. Any field trip that has been requested from out-of-state in Massachusetts will need to have an RN on the trip. But in order for the out-of-state trip to be honored, the only states that honor Massachusetts RN licensure is Connecticut. So,
Are you kidding?
no, we're considered a compact state. So in order for us to send another nurse out of state, we have to apply for
Reciprocal.
Yeah, reciprocity. I don't know if I'm going to be able to say that. And that may take up to 90 days. So right now, the seniors wanted to go to Rhode Island, and at that point, just we weren't able to accommodate that with this new regulation. There is still some discussion going on, but right now, that's our attorney have advised us to stick with that for now. So from now on, we can just really go to Connecticut until we get further information.
That's terrible.
So
there-
we're
is
working
there-
on becoming a compact state with other states, and that's been going in the process for a little while, but right now, we're just Connecticut. And you can only use it for 24 hours in Connecticut.
So what is the, where did this come from? Because we've been doing out-of-state field trips. So what changed? The Trump administration? Or?
No,
Yeah.
not this. We didn't get a lot of detail as to the
didn't.
background, so all we're doing is speculating. There must have been an incident that either a nurse wasn't present or something that this it feels so reactionary mid-school year to put this kind of directive out to all the schools and the districts in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, again, February, a lot of people have DC trips planned and things, other school districts. So it's, there's some anxiety with some folks, and some people are scrambling to get that certification. But, we only had the senior one, and then we had another one that was easy enough to reschedule.
So if we had been able to talk about this a little bit ago with the senior,
No.
would they have been
No.
okay in time?
No.
Would have had to rescind, probably take back that approval because we would have been out of compliance with that.
Right, we would have had to, they still have to apply to Rhode Island to go to that field trip. And so Rhode Island, it costs fingerprinting. You have to put up $90, it's a fee. There's also a waiting period. Nancy Jenkins, our nurse leader, went through all the process. And the only one that had anything with us was Connecticut. New York is even longer, the wait. So fingers crossed,
That just
hopefully.
seems terrible.
And some districts are, looking to see what they can do to expedite it, but our legal told us to, and even you could conceivably, have seniors go, after graduation, because then it would be responsible with the school, but that's just on us, and I don't feel comfortable doing it because they're still our kids. So,
This is really a catch-22 where you
is.
can't even send a certified nurse, licensed nurse, I should say.
but the
on
nurse's
field-
license only good for Massachusetts.
But I feel like that's not the case for nurses that work in a hospital because there's reciprocity for like the tri-state area. It always has been. Like, and I know like Bay State pulls from nurses when I worked there.
Right.
You'd see people coming in from different things on different. So something,
It's a DPH school.
yeah, something happened. Like you said,
We got it
right?
mid-February, which is, again, why wouldn't we get this in July? We got it in February.
Right.
So
That's terrible.
yeah, it is terrible. And I think the seniors are a little upset right now.
I don't blame them. They have every right to be upset.
So, yes, they do. I agree.
And the advisory is just vague. It's,
I did the chat, you all can everybody can take a look at it, it is in there, and there's some links to it. And you're gonna do some light reading, feel free to take a look at it. That's all I have for that.
All right, next is the field trip to Connecticut Science.
So there is a field trip going to the Connecticut Science Museum, and that is going to be for 8th and 9th graders to go to a STEM demonstration with the Project Lead the Way curriculum. So that is taking place, we have the date on there, March 21st, it's Friday.
It's Friday. Okay. Any questions or comments on that?
No, sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm glad someone's getting to do something. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion to accept the field trip to the Connecticut Science Museum.
I have a second?
I'll second it. Yeah, that's a fun trip.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is I'm assuming PA is Parent Association and not Pennsylvania, donation to music department.
That's the Granby Music Association.
So GMPA.
Yep. Oh, is there two?
No, that's
The PA is a sound system. The PA is actually the sound system donation.
Yeah, Sue Crago is donating a sound system to the music department that is, will help the students with their little bands and things like that. So she's donating it from her days. And Bob Costello was very excited to get that in his supplies because his just broke, so it worked out really quite nicely.
Excellent.
So we have that donation.
Okay, so can I have a motion?
Sure. Motion to accept the PA donation to the music department?
Have a second?
With big thanks from all of us, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, second.
The next donation is Ginny.
All those in favor?
I
Gosh.
now I'll be able to say it loud and proud through the new system.
Okay.
It's a small system, it's not a big one.
And that's from Sue, so
It's Sue Craigle, I will,
thank
yep.
you to Sue, that's amazing.
Thank you very much.
All right, next is a saxophone donation to the music department, presented by Ginny.
Yep. I'm the GMPA chair for the Granby Music Parents Association, and Jessica Funk actually donated a saxophone to the band to be able to put into the hands of a student instead of us purchasing one. And it actually needs zero work and everything, so it can literally be picked up and given to a student to be able to use.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
can I have a motion?
Motion to accept the donation of a saxophone to the music department.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ginny, for bringing that forward, and
Thank you.
Jessica. That's amazing. All right, next is the MSBA Statement of Interest.
This requires a vote. Granby submits a statement of interest to the Massachusetts School Building Authority, that's the MSBA, on a yearly basis, but now it is a 2-year basis. Even though we don't intend to replace or make modifications to the high school with the exception of the kitchen, we still have to keep our name in the queue for MSBA. So each district school committee must vote on the SOI, and once you guys vote on it, I have to bring it to the town for vote as well. I also put a copy of that into your folder. Basically, it just states what our deficiencies are and what things we'll be looking for. It talks about heating, ventilation, size, space, things like that. So I did give you a copy of that. It's the same one that we've submitted in the past, nothing new. So this is the beginning of a 2-year cycle. We don't have to revisit this again until 2026. Yes, 27.
Okay.
May I ask, because I don't know the answer, has the town been on board with this in the past?
They're on board as far as us submitting
Right.
and keeping our name on the queue.
Okay.
We're told repeatedly that no one thinks that the town would vote for a Proposition 2.5 for the override that would be needed to fund it. But at the same time, they also realize that we can't go along and be like ostriches and put our heads in the sand. I don't believe anyone's denying the fact that the building needs repairs and needs to be updated and is one catastrophe away from being a real problem. So we've been doing it year over year. Honestly, it sort of feels like, we go, we show up, we read it through, they accept it, and we move on. And then they wait and see. The last time we went through, the MSBA didn't even allow us to really go forward because they knew that the town at that point in time was not in a financial situation. But we like to keep our name in there, and we've been doing it every year since I've been on the committee, moving it forward. At some point, we're gonna end up actually being able to do something, which will be super exciting. But I'm not really sure when that will be.
So if I may, MSBA has determined that the town doesn't have the ability to pay back whatever the percentage is that is unfunded by.
So when we've met, I've been on one of the calls with MSBA and with the former town administrator, and it was that the town doesn't have the appetite for the debt exclusion.
According to,
The finance committee chair and the town administrator on behalf of the select board.
okay,
So, and so we according to MSBA, we wouldn't qualify for some of their more targeted repairs, whether it was the heating system or the windows, because they're aware of some of the other significant deficiencies in the building.
Yes.
So they would not approve us for one of those more targeted repairs.
So if I may, just so I can better understand, so the select board left it in the hands of the finance chair and the town administrator to make that assumption? Is that how that works? I just really don't know here.
They were the representatives from the town side at that meeting, and
Okay.
that was their statement in the meeting. How they came to that conclusion, I can't speak to that.
Right. Well, that would be interesting to know. And I guess if you think that there's anyone on the town side who might help me better understand that, I'd be happy to give them a call and try to understand what their thinking is. Because you should never underestimate a great communication plan, especially when it comes to schools.
I would say the communication, if you go to any number of town meetings, it's fairly obvious, the appetite.
Oh, okay.
So we're not just
No, that's what I'm
pulling
wondering.
straws. If you go to the annual town meeting, or if you've been to special town meetings or whatever, it's very, very clear what the finance committee, what the select board, what town patrons think. I think the tide is starting to turn, but we're not there yet.
Okay,
We're a very highly taxed town,
yes, I'm finding that out.
but we don't. The finance committee said the only way we could pay for such an for such an endeavor would be to do Proposition 2.5. And there's something with the amount that we have. I don't know. There's all these numbers that they talk to us about. So we're not. It's not like we don't think a communication plan would help. It's we've been living this for a while, so it's.
And they did, again, part of this larger discussion indicated that we're only into, 5 years or so of paying for this renovation. And so to have the significant bill added to what's already the debt exclusion that they're covering or the town is paying for is the message the way that I received it. And so
And what's the state reimbursement currently for new construction?
I think it depends on the project. There's a number of factors that that come into it from the feasibility study. I wasn't in this role when this building was done, but I believe it was around a 60% reimbursement for this building.
It's in one of the town.
Yeah, what's?
The annual. Thank you. The annual reports, and actually, it's probably in a bunch of them. You can search it up on the website, and it says what all of the stuff is. I don't know the specific numbers off.
I'll do my best. Yeah, I'm sure I can find
And
it.
it does change based on need, low income enrollment. Like there's so many factors that go into what creates, because there are communities that receive 80% or more reimbursement
Yes,
depending on their demographics and a number of the factors in community, where so we got probably around 60% for this building.
right. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. I will do some looking just so I can better understand.
Make a motion to accept the MSBA statement of interest as written.
Can I have a second?
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And just let us know when, or let me know when you're going to go in front of the select board. I usually like to sit in on that if I can.
Sure, that'd be great, because I have to print it out too to have you sign it, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, do we know when it is?
We'll have to,
we have to.
once we have, right, we can go to them now and say the school committee has authorized it, so we'll need to be on
We have to.
an upcoming
We
agenda.
have some time.
I'm off on Friday, so if you have it ready, I can pop in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Or at some point in the morning
Okay,
and sign it.
oh, yeah. I wondered if I could print it off until we voted, so I think they might be okay now. You have to check a box.
Yeah.
So I think we're good now.
And then that, it's not this round, it's the next round with the crazy signatures online.
Yes.
After the select board approves it, then it's that weird one. Okay. Next is payment of FY24 van pool invoices. This is one of my favorite topics.
I always bring all the best things. So in your folder, I have a breakdown of a number of older invoices from fiscal '24 from Vanpool. There's a couple of factors that led to this. I really feel there's a major communication issue with Vanpool. We were trying to get clarification on some overcharges, some invoices that were incorrect. We weren't receiving callbacks and emails, and we finally were able to get them squared away. And unfortunately, we're left with $39,284 remaining from FY24. We are able to use carryover from an FY24 special ed grant for contracted services to cover this cost. And so it wouldn't be coming out of FY25, our original FY25 budget. As I said, it's carryover that we didn't end up using last year from our IDEA grant.
So I'm looking at the breakout there with the
Yeah.
invoices. So why is the one from April 1st, 2024, $26,000?
That is for last fiscal year, that is the regular invoice amount for out-of-district transportation for a month. So each one, so the way that they are broken out is by service. So we have in-district as a separate invoice, out-of-district. We have our McKinney-Vento homeless transportation. We have our Smith vocational transportation. Each comes as its own invoice per month. It's not one Vanpool invoice per month. Okay. And so that, as I said, that's representative of our out-of-district tuition, or our out-of-district transportation.
All right, so I get lost with the numbers sometimes, I'm sorry. So tell me, so the 39,284 is the total amount
Correct.
left that we still need to pay?
Correct.
And how much do we have in how much are we short? The 39,000 after using the rollover?
No, the rollover will cover the 39,000. Yep. And so our carryover was about 82,000.
Okay, so there's still money.
Which we'll be using, because I know earlier in the year I told you that we had under budgeted for FY25, so we'll be using
That balance.
Yep.
Okay,
And that was this 39,000 was part of that original calculation I gave you earlier this year.
okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. And we haven't talked about it in a little while, so.
Right, okay.
It's interesting that it would take so long, and I do understand that at times it does take so long for Vanpool to communicate back and clarify the questions, so that's not best business practice, but they sort of have a lock on the market, don't they?
They do, and I have a ongoing concern with them, and I'm holding on to 2 invoices right now because I'm not getting clarification from them on a question regarding some routes. And so
Vanpool still locally owned as
it is we have a regional or a local branch, but it is it's part of a larger conglomerate, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to use it.
If you say so, I'll agree.
I was able to get more information once a person above our regional area started to be looped in on a couple of these to get me to this number today. It's stalled on my current fiscal year, but I'm pressing on them to get better answers. I may not get the savings I'm looking for, but I'd at least like to understand how we got these charges. So.
Never give up. Thank you.
Okay, did we already do it?
No.
I need a motion.
Make a motion to accept payment of FY24 Vanpool invoices.
Second.
Do we need to state or just that it's from 24 carryover? Does it matter as described?
No, because the grant is a 2-year.
Okay,
Great.
second. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, finalists for superintendent search. I don't know that that's actually a vote.
Okay.
I think it's just an announcement, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Todd.
So The initial screening committee is presenting the school committee with 2 names as finalists for the Granby superintendent search. Mary Jane Rickson and Dr. Joanne Menard are the 2 names being brought forward by the search committee.
Okay. So, we need to schedule, we have interviews scheduled.
We haven't scheduled them with them yet. We had the window in our original posting for the job
Okay.
and the flyer. If that's the timeline you want to keep, we can move forward with that timeline.
I think we should try to do our best if we can make it, happen.
Okay.
So we'll get those, scheduled?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then are you in a next meeting going to review questions or prepare questions?
Yeah, I think we have to because we didn't have it on the agenda and I didn't actually stop and think about it when I reviewed the agenda. So there's some questions that are in the folder that came from the search committee. So for our next meeting, if we can come with some thoughts on questions, we can kind of go from there and narrow it down.
Okay.
So it says questions from search committee. Ginny put it in on March 7th. And then if you have anything in particular that you would like, we can provide time for that. And when we do that, you'll have to step out for those. So you don't have them.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So bring a couple questions.
Yep. And there's some that the screening committee had some thoughts on, so they presented those. So we can decide when we have that conversation, we can decide if we want to use any or all of those and how we want it to play out. So
Okay.
we'll go from there.
So did the group have, or do you all have access to sort of that larger compilation of questions that comes from MASC to look at? Okay, good.
That's where these some of these came from.
And would your suggestion be that we obviously we'll look at these, right? And then come with anything from that larger compilation that seems like
I
burning.
mean, like when I was on the search for the town administrator, I spent some time and I Googled and found some other ones that weren't on any particular site, just
Yes.
ones that I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense to me and what I would like to know from this next potential person.
Mhm.
So feel free to do that.
That's smart. Yeah, I actually have my own sort of collection that you're
so-
right.
Because I feel like interviewing is a very personal thing when you're sitting there, what it is that you're looking to get from the candidate and having those discussions. So sometimes how I frame a question or how I think of question, the point is coming across, but it looks completely different than what is there. So,
Yes.
if you can come with a couple, we'll spend some time looking at those so that we can be ready to be organized for how we're going to do it.
Thank you. Todd, I'm just the interview schedule roughly. When were we thinking of that? Are we going to so candidates will do site visits here? I mean, are we announcing the names of the candidates
We just
publicly?
did.
Did we say them out loud?
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry. Obviously still on that cold med stuff. Keeps me a little
again, Todd.
keeps me a little like I'm
Mary
in
Jane
cement
Rickson.
sometimes.
And Dr. Joanne Menard.
Thank you. And the committee has talked about, obviously there would be site visits here for both candidates, even though one is the interim. And did the committee talk about potentially a site visit? I guess we'll call candidates equal out of the district?
We had talked about it and potentially having a member of the screening committee perform that task
Mm-hmm.
for us.
Okay. Well, if that works for you all, I'm okay with that.
Good.
Well, I mean, site visits out are getting less useful than they used to be, right? With the whole
I feel like it changed during COVID.
It
because,
did.
We did ours for the site visit, and it was when we hired Steven, I think, right? Must have been.
Search committee.
It was.
But that was done during remote.
Yeah, so it was, everything was remote and, yeah,
Well,
so,
virtual site visits became popular in COVID and still are quite popular because if you're traveling any distance, which I guess this is not a huge distance, but it saves a lot of time and money. I'll look at the brochure just so I'm sure to save those. The time, I would imagine, well, I guess I wouldn't imagine anything, but you'll tell me. Will we be interviewing both candidates on the same evening, different evenings?
our goal was to do that, but it depends, of course, on the candidates, availability, but that's how we did it in the last couple of searches that we've done. And we just had, so Mary Jane, when you came in for the interim, you were we met you and you came in front of us, right?
Yep.
And it was, I think there were,
Yeah, right there, and
yeah,
it was, I think I waited up there for something.
and someone went, yeah.
Probably. Got
Yes. It's just a little bit of coordination. There's two candidates, so that's completely
Go
doable
in
in one
one
night.
door and then come the other.
Yeah.
That's when he did that today. Not really, but we tried.
And would you imagine that deliberation then happens after the two interviews? Okay, good, good. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, and all of this is depending upon if we can make it coordinate and everything, if we have to adjust and because of calendar commitments or anything else, that we'll take that under advisement and see how we can make it.
I'm trying way harder. Trust me. I only had the 2 dates for this month. For some reason, differently, and maybe it's because in my mind, I don't know. We missed the one meeting because of absences. But anyway, I went through the rest of my calendar, and they're all in there according to the list. So I'm good to go. I want to just be sure to block off time for this as well.
I shared the brochure with you,
Thank
just
you.
so you can see it.
Hey, I know a guy. Thank you so much.
Okay, so more to come on that, and we'll make sure to discuss questions at next,
I'm gonna put that on the agenda.
our next meeting. Jenny's got it.
Yeah.
All right, my next favorite topic, school choice.
I didn't put a vote in here in case you wanted to have some discussion and kind of ruminate it over the next week or so before the next meeting, but I talked to the principals, and then we talked to our data administrator to see what was coming in as far as Children's First at the elementary level with kindergarten and grade 1. So in meeting with the principals, these are the numbers that they came up with. As you can see that there's really a good number of students in grade 2, grade 4, grade 5. They're at capacity. So the only rooms we have room for right now would be 1, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11. But again, that's always up to you. So I don't know if you want to have discussion on it, but and you can see the notes on the side. We already had kindergarten registration, so this works out. These are the numbers we have. I did have a couple inquiries about kindergarten, but those would make the classroom. Right now, 35 would be 17 in one class, 18 in another. So, just a matter of what we're looking for at the kindergarten level. But other than that, I don't think these numbers are really much different than last year's.
I do have a question about the grade 10 numbers. That's current grade 10, class of 2027?
No, this is, that'd be grade 9.
Grade 9, okay.
These numbers, these kids are all moving up a grade.
Okay. And then we're still not accepting seniors or 45?
It's totally up to you. It's hard at seniors because the problem with seniors, when they come in, you don't know what their credits are.
Yeah, but my whole thing with that is if we had a student move in that was a
Sure,
resident,
of course.
we'd have to take them. So you'd have to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Whatever you want, I have no problem adding more seniors, absolutely. Whatever you,
I just feel like,
that is a good point. That's
by the way, I highly doubt that a senior is going to want school choice
It's valid, though. It's a valid.
back in,
You're
but
right. Yeah.
I don't want to. I hate having that door closed because I know there was students in my daughter's class that would have liked to potentially come back and didn't.
I mean, the class is small enough, so, it's, again, most of these credits, but you're right, if somebody came in from out of district, what would we do anyway? We'd make it work.
You'd absolutely make it work. So
I'm okay if you want to add a couple of slots there, talk much and think about it, and we can bring it back to her vote next time, or I can put it in here, we can. What are you guys thinking?
we'll bring it on for a vote for next week. Yeah, it's next week, right?
Right,
Yes.
do you want me to put some numbers in here? Do you want to talk, I don't know.
Well, we can't, does
Okay,
anyone else
we're not
have any
voting,
strong,
that's why I'm
strong
saying.
feelings about adding? I mean, I just feel like we should at least have the option for seniors. Again, highly doubt it, but I don't want to have a door closed that could potentially be opened. Because I know there's some kids that have a history of going back and forth.
Well, for a variety of oftentimes very good reasons, right? Yeah, I think that unfortunately, or fortunately, we're in a place now where we have to compete for students. And while it's only $5,000 coming in, yeah, I say the more that can be well managed, the better.
So, maybe two,
Sure.
just so that
Yep.
there's spots open instead of having 0.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
And Todd, you've been part of some of the other discussions about classroom size and everything. Are we okay with where we're at right now as far as this building is concerned?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. All right, so we'll move that along. Any other questions on school choice at this point? Moving on. Policy D, C addendum that was provided to us for subsections. And second read, and we have the option to vote unless we have additional questions after tonight. So, policy D, George is not here. Oh, you were on that, right? You're on
Yes.
that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So talk us through it.
Well, the only thing that I had a question on was I was really having a hard time finding the edited version of Section D, which says that there needs to be some discussion on DK. Is that the case?
That was the payments, isn't it?
Right. Payment procedures. So we had a really good meeting. Policy work is something I do an awful lot of. And I did with Section D here what I would do for any other school committee. I simply took the policies, matched them up with the policy templates from MASC, highlighted the differences, provided explanations as to why there were differences in some cases. And George and I had a pretty good discussion, and I think that we were in agreement on everything. It must have been except the DK. We're going back now a couple of meetings. There was not a whole lot of, there wasn't any, I would say, significant changes offered, but there were some language changes. There were some legal updates just to keep us in compliance. And I'm completely comfortable with what the subcommittee recommended as we do a second reading here.
This is our second read.
Second reading. So do we need a motion for that? I mean, if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to open up Section D and take a look. As I recall, we spent was it about 45 minutes that night, or did it just seem like 45 minutes in that little room?
Probably close to that.
Yeah. Again, without having any significant changes to the language, just minor wording changes and additional cross-references and legal references, I think that we're probably pretty good to go unless our Director of Finance and Operation had any questions.
Nope, I don't.
Yeah. So I'd make a motion that we accept as a second reading. Do we then have a third following this here? Is that the typical protocol, the final approval at the next meeting?
Well, the way we have it on the agenda and the way we've done it is if there's no additional changes or questions after the second read, we always have it as a vote to be able to go through after the second read. If there's still lingering questions or whatever, we can vote to bypass the vote
Got
and
it.
push it on to the next one. But again, like you said, I'm pretty comfortable if it's following what MASC says and there's, we've gone through this now. I think at this point, we're just trying to keep up to date on changes.
You're
that are happening.
following best practice is what you're doing by going section by section.
So we've done the whole, we have made it all the way through once, and we probably finished that. How long have you been on now?
Just over 2 years.
I
So
like
maybe
it.
right when you started or right before you started. And so now we're just kind of going through and we've done some out of order because there was something that was announced and I don't know, say it was I. It
Yeah.
might have been I. It might not have been I. Can't really remember.
Well, we had to just revert back on the AC policy, right? And you might not have, since you already went through, you might not have gotten the latest update from January, like, so it's non-discrimination, harassment,
Bringing it
yeah,
to the
anything
school-
involving
Coming to the next school
Title
committee meeting.
IX. So you were probably still using the 22 policy, which basically we had to revert back to. We made significant changes based on decisions that the Biden administration made. And then we had
We
to,
voted on that to be
This year.
in the summer. We have to go back to the other one. So we have to bring that, we have to revert back to the, which will be in our January meeting. It'll be at the next meeting. It's on my calendar.
good, we have to revert back, but the good news is, so to me, the good news is anyway, that Massachusetts Constitution provides a great deal more protection than the federal Constitution provides to young people in our schools. So we're literally reverting back to the changes that the policy before the more comprehensive changes came in place. And the AG and the governor repeatedly stand in support of protecting students in our school buildings. So again, I, for one, am pretty happy about that.
So if we're comfortable, we can do the vote for acceptance of the updates to policy D as they stand, or we can push it off and do it at the next meeting. It's entirely up to the,
So I'll try a motion.
okay.
I would make a motion that we accept the second read and move forward to approval on the changes made to policy section D, finance and budgeting.
Have a second?
Move forward to vote.
Yeah. to
Oh, okay,
approve.
that's
Yeah,
second, yeah,
yeah.
of course, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so we are good. So you guys in your next subcommittee will have to decide which policy to tackle next.
Yeah. So I guess whatever needs to be tackled next. would be-
Right, so what, Mary Jane's bringing, the one that's coming for, the other, whatever it was, AC or whatever.
Mhm.
It's just the Title IX policy. We have
Yeah,
to revert back.
yep. So whatever that is, we'll be able to,
Should we
You know,
bring it to
go-
the subcommittee first, or should I just bring it as
bring
it?
it to the meeting and then, because the next meeting should have, maybe not the 25th, but,
I was thinking the one in April. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, the 25th, I think, will be, because we'll have our, forum before then. So,
Yeah, it's simply reverting back to your previous policy, so.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. Next is continuing business enrollment numbers. I feel like,
Well, there has been a little bit of change because we haven't had a meeting in, if you take a look at, because we do the enrollment change at the end of the month, you can see that from December. So we didn't have any meetings in February, so I didn't have to put that in there. So we had a couple students come back from tech school. We had 2 new enrollments and 1 relocated from somewhere else in the state. So we have 6 new. And then just last month, we had 1 student move out. So our enrollment's up from December. We're up to 681. We're up 5.
wow. Yeah,
That's kind of, that's good. It's coming back.
pretty. I don't love it. Okay, Any questions on these?
I have one simple question that
Yep.
I had when we looked at school choice. Does non-resident automatically mean school choice students? Here,
I'm gonna defer that to Todd. Does not, I don't know if that.
do we have anybody tuitioning in? I
We do
imagine-
have, some tuition students.
Oh, okay. Even better.
Yeah.
Get more money for those youngsters.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So non-resident is a combination of both.
Yep,
We don't have it singled out.
correct.
It would be.
Oh, they do,
maybe-
no, they do have a column of tuition in.
It could be like a program that they want to come to, or life skills or something like that. And I think that's,
Stacy does break it out into tuition in versus, so non-resident would be our
Just
our school choice.
10th grade. Okay.
Okay, so nothing on that. We'll go to superintendent's report. Are you gonna read like 4 of them or?
yeah, I just put it, I just kept adding stuff to it. So I had it quite extensive, but I kind of shortened a little bit because I figured. So I've been attending webinars, as you know, there's been some new changes coming fast and furious at the federal level. So I've been attending, and as well as all my administrative team, Mr. Dorman and myself, our heads are spinning. So I've been attending webinars on Title IX, immigration, charter schools, federal funding, and what's going to happen with the Department of Ed. I did want to let you know that the charter school, Chinese immersion charter school, opened 100 seats this year, so that we're going to be keeping an eye on that on our end. So we'll be sending some more updates in the next few weeks on our policies. At our next school committee, we'll be discussing the Title IX policy, which is what Lisa talked about. I met with Police Chief O'Grady, Interim Fire Chief Russ Anderson, and our emergency preparedness team to review our emergency response team. So we took a look at our documents that Mr. Sullivan had worked with the last couple of years on. And we're going to move forward with some practice case scenarios, which include some reunifications. And we're planning to have, we had an additional meeting on the 27th. So I missed that one. And then we're going to do something in the spring. We'll notify the families ahead of time that this is happening, keep it open and transparent so that we know. But really, reunification is, it's going to be, dismissing students from the high school to the elementary school to get on the bus. It'll be at the end of the day. And the same thing will happen at the elementary school, just so that students know and what our practices look like and making sure that we can keep track of students. So we're going to work on that. On February 6th, I attended the Connecticut Valley Superintendent's Roundtable. This is really interesting. That's why I left it in here, because the topic was from the Massachusetts Taxpayer Association. And this is a nonprofit, nonpartisan public research organization. And they discussed the governor's budget, specifically emphasizing the trends in revenue collection. So I kind of put this in here because I was really interested in a specific term that says slow revenue growth versus increasing costs. And I think that's really the crux of everybody's budget. Revenue's not increasing, and costs are going up. So I really just wanted to put that in there. So I was working with the Taxpayers Association to present information through a Zoom meeting, but unfortunately they were unable to accommodate us. They said they could, but I guess they got booked. So this month we met with the Connecticut Valley Roundtables, which kind of followed up through the last part, and they were in that roundtable. We met with local legislators like Jake Oliveira, Dom, our Representative Dom, and those folks, and they wanted to know what our concerns were. I mean, they also didn't know what the funding is going to look like at the federal level, so they're very concerned. But they did want to let them know that they're going to do what we can to support them. And additional topics, they're really trying to explore the use of using fully funding rural aid, because we're not funded at rural aid at the 100%. I'm not really sure what they were talking about at that point, because they use some of the rural aid for other things. Some of the rural aid money is used to, we can use it for anything we want, but we want to make sure we get more funding for that. We were also invited to attend a, what is it called? A forum from the Mass Ways and Means Committee on UMass on March 24th. And Todd and myself are going to be heading that. Todd's going to speak on behalf of Granby. No, he's not. He said he's not speaking. But so we're going to advocate, superintendents are all getting together to advocate on what we need, and hopefully the Ways and Means Committee can hear us. East Meadow Principal Search. Sue Crego, our Curriculum Instruction Coordinator, was tasked for this project. She did a fabulous job, and her and Jeannie really worked miracles to get the finalists here today. So they were here to meet with our staff, our parents, and toured the schools. Our three candidates are Penny Manteria, Stacy Burgess, and Cynthia Sykes. I have a synopsis of each person's qualifications. Like me to read them? Is Jeannie's going to put it on the website? I believe it's on our website, right? Or Facebook?
Yeah,
He's
it's on
gonna
the
be putting-
website. Yeah, it's on the website and it's also in your vitals.
So they'll be there as well. And so I will be meeting with candidates on March 20th, and we'll be mounting the final candidate on March 21st. So we'll have that ready to go by the end of the week. On March 21st, we've been invited to participate in regional finance discussions. Myself, Mr. Dormant, and our new interim town administrator, Ira, but I'm not sure Mr. Brzezinski will be there. Our hope is that Western Mass will have a voice in funding. So typically Western Mass is kind of left out of the loop, but again, everybody's really hopeful that we're not going to be slashed. So
Just remind them that we know we're considered the annex of New York, but we still are part of Massachusetts.
we are, yeah. So, yeah, I already talked this March 20th one. So on March 21st, we're going to be, so I just talked about that twice. And then the last thing is we had kindergarten registration.
March 20th was something different.
No, I put the wrong date in there. That was me.
I thought don't we have a meeting coming up?
Oh, that is the right one. You're right. Yeah,
I wanted to clarify
Yep.
the time.
Yep. Yeah, March 20th. I thought I was reading the same thing again. March 20th, we are meeting at 5:00.
Oh, yeah,
It's at 5.
that's, and it's here?
No,
There.
that's at the Council on Aging.
Yeah, it's at 5:00, and that will be, I was reading that, I thought I wrote it down twice. Not too fast. So yeah, we're going to be meeting with town officials, discuss the parameters of our FY26 budget. And hopefully this meeting will help us with our budget presentation next Tuesday, March 25th. So Mr. Dorman has done a nice job of putting lots of scenarios together. So hopefully we'll be able to shore that up soon. And that's all I have.
Council on Aging site, you said, right? Thank you.
Oh yeah, 21st, 20th, yep.
What's the address there? I'm trying to remember.
10B West State Street.
Yeah, West State Street. Yeah, I think that's gonna be ourselves. I don't know if the Board of Selectmen's gonna be there. in the front.
There's, it's anticipated one member from the school committee, one from the select board, and I
One from the finance.
don't know if the finance committee, I haven't heard back yet.
I think the town replaced Mr. Brzezinski with Mr. Martin as of yesterday's select board meeting.
I wasn't sure when I put that in here.
Yeah,
I,
just a heads up, so you're not expecting one walk into the other.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, it's a posted meeting?
No,
Open to the public?
this
It's
is,
not.
no,
Okay. Thank you.
you are.
It's, what we're doing is we sit down with the town administrator and, usually select board, sometimes finance, and we just go over what the school budget's looking like. If we're asking for any additional funding so that they're not blindsided.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of, how does it look for us? Or, are we expecting layoffs? Do we need to do massive cuts? Just kind
Yeah.
of a discussion.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just curious that it was, I understand everybody does things differently, and I can respect that. I just wanted to clarify whether it was an open public meeting or not.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Todd, you're up.
All right, so I was going to say, so our FY25 budget update, so we have the meeting scheduled on Thursday to hopefully iron out our final parameters to be able to present our first draft of the budget for our public hearing on the 25th. This coming Tuesday is our time for community input. So present that initial, what are our drivers? I've already taken some of the parameters we've gotten, but I said that meeting Thursday will give us really our final marching orders to try to be able to present the best budget possible. So that's the first thing. What I did, I put in I think I gave you hard copies. I had prepared one for our first February meeting, but for the end through January, and then I have one that is year to date through February. It's our major funding categories, what we have budgeted for the year, how much we have expended for some of our revolving accounts, receipts that we've received, and then encumbrances that in some of, particularly in our teaching and paraprofessional lines, those are their summer pays from the previous year, and then what's remaining available in those fund areas. So I will give you a monthly update laid out in this format. It takes it through, again, all of our major categories: administrative, teaching, classroom instructional supplies, through transportation and facilities.
Is there any that is in critical need, or are they all on track to be?
Our major one is going to be special ed transportation, which I had given the board, the committee, made you aware of that earlier this year. As I said, we have you might see a few lines here and there that are in the negative, but they're part of a larger funding group. And so that total funding group is still in good shape.
Okay.
So. And then I also, when you get to it, at the end, I have our grants that we're currently using this year, how much we've expended in those grants, how much we have received from the state in reimbursement for those grants so far. And then also the same thing with our revolving accounts, like our school lunch and athletic revolving are two of our major ones. With our grants, a number of them, we haven't drawn very much of our funds yet because a number of them are connected to stipends that are work going on through the year. So those stipends will typically be paid out towards the end of the school year.
Any update on the kitchen?
I do have an update on the kitchen. That was number 3 on my list.
Oh, okay. We'll go number 2 then. Sorry.
We just did number 2.
Okay.
So you're right in line.
Perfect.
We have sent, so the select board voted to approve awarding the contract for the kitchen renovation to Contracting Solutions out of Southwick. We have a mechanical sub bidder and we have an electrical sub bidder. So we have the major players in place. I sent a draft of the contract to the town administrator in case there's any edits or reviews, because our interim town administrator is also the chief procurement officer. So once I get those back, I will forward those to our architect and to General Contracting Solutions. So at this point, we are in line to start our construction this summer. Our tentative completion date is middle of August. So hopefully to have the kitchen ready to go for when the students return, that's our goal. Hopefully we can have labor and materials line up the way we need them to, and we are well in line with our allocated amount, because I know that's been a concern, the way this project's been delayed getting bidders, but we're still well within where we need to be for this. So,
Great news.
so so that's all that I have. Glad I could end on a positive note.
Love it. CES, we don't have, I don't know, has anyone been going?
So, I think I went to the last one. And it might be good that I go to the next one unless somebody has a burning desire.
I was just gonna say, I'm scheduled to go to the one on March 26th, and I was gonna say I cannot attend because I have a work commitment.
And there are some. Oh my gosh. I'll have to double check. The last meeting I attended, there was some discussion about some significant financial deficits that included layoffs of staff and closing of some programs. It wasn't the greatest first meeting for me to attend. I think that it was a very emotional meeting. There were staff members there present. And I think that I would expect a lot more information to come in at the next meeting, which was not provided at that meeting 2 months ago as to how they got there.
I think it's always like the last Wednesday of the month, but I'm not really sure.
Yes. Can I email you on that? Because I do see something here in my calendar for a policy meeting with another district, but I'm wondering if that's actual meeting date or a proposed meeting date. So I'll confirm that tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I think that if that is a meeting and I can get them to move it up, I could attend virtually.
Okay.
It would be great to get, there were just sort of so many questions that I think a lot of people had, and there was no real information forthcoming on it, except their plan to sort of cut their deficit and get back to where they were running to the end of the year. But it was disappointing to hear, and I think everybody was hearing it at the same time. Like, there was no real heads up on that as far as I was taking in at that meeting.
It will be March 26th. That's when it is. March 26th, 6 to 8:30.
Yeah, that's what I have. I'm just unable to attend.
I can tell you that I'm very interested in attending that if I can get it. First, I have to confirm this meeting, and then I'll see if I can get it moved up.
Well, I can tell you, I attend those meetings pretty frequently. We meet, they've run some of our superintendent meetings, and that is a concern. They're really having a hard time finding PT, OT, so the services that like we're looking for them to provide, they can't provide to us. So I think that's where some of the deficits are coming from. And then when they do find people, like they're not generating revenue for PD because people don't have the ability to have the money to go to them for PD. So I know those are some of their concerns. They can't generate the revenue that they've had. And people, like I said, we're not taking advantage of them because we just don't have extra funds to be doing that.
Right. Well, right. So again, not having the information that I think maybe would have been helpful for everybody in advance of that meeting to better understand how they got there, it would be,
Yep.
I'm just interested in getting it at the next meeting.
Awesome. So let me know so we can.
I will definitely let you know.
Okay. All right. So for our meeting next week, we have our forum on.
Budget hearing.
We have budget hearing. I always get those messed up. So budget hearing is on the 25th, starting at,
6:30, so
6:30.
6:30 to 7:30,
yep. And then we'll have our.
or 7, sorry.
6:30 to 7, and then we'll start our meeting at 7. And we sort of had our subcommittee meetings last week. We do have some policy stuff, but I'm not sure George will be here, so I think that what we should do is push subcommittee until April.
Unless there's a pressing need, but I feel like
We usually do the second meeting of the month.
so we'll wait until April.
So we'll have that from 6:30 to 7, and then we'll do our regular budget.
For the school committee meeting.
Yes. So other additional things that we want to talk about is we'll have questions for the superintendent and kind of talk about that superintendent search, just how it all plays out. We'll
School choice.
school choice. And then, is there anything else that we talked about? I feel like there was something else and I can't find it.
Did you want me to do the Title IX thing, or do you want to wait time?
Oh, the timeline. Yep, no, that's fine. That's a good one. Because that, we can sort of have a discussion. It doesn't have to be policy.
Yep.
Okay.
And then on April 1st will be the forum.
Okay.
And that is the only thing we'll have that day. It's not ahead of a regular meeting.
So hearing is when the public can ask questions.
Yep.
See, those words are different in my forum should be where you can ask questions.
Agreed.
Hearing is where that's why
I know, and I took it right from the legislation when I posted the hearing.
But do you not agree that the wording forum
First.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forum is when you have,
Usually hear
have
open.
discussion. Hearing is like,
That's where I
Gavel.
hear it.
Right.
that's what I want. I need a gavel.
I might have some if I can unpack all my
I
boxes.
certainly had one from my legal studies class when I had to be the judge.
no.
So this is when we listen to any members of the public who might appear.
Right. And Todd will present for us. We can ask questions. A lot of times I ask questions
Wearing my parent hat rather than a school committee hat.
Okay, sure.
And then the next one is where, any last minute changes or whatever.
The committee can continue to ask questions at that one, but the public would not be able to.
They can still attend, they just can't ask questions.
Yeah.
And we've had at least ones where people came on the night of the forum and during open visitors comment, they posed questions for us that we were able to take under 5 minutes as we went through the
Okay.
final presentation.
Yep, makes sense.
And then vote on the budget on the April 11th meeting.
Okay. So if there's nothing else, we can vote to enter into executive session. We're now going to vote to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Part A3, to discuss strategy with regard to collective bargaining, as doing so in an open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. The committee will not return to open session.
Jenny, can you do a roll call vote for us, please?
Yes, Ms. Bartos.
Aye.
Mr. Durham.
Aye.
Ms. LaFawn.
I'm sorry, was that a motion or that's just we're doing it?
Roll
Okay,
call
Roll call.
vote for
Yes.
executive session.
absolutely.
Okay. That's it for us. Thanks very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.